Hi, this is Rev Ed with today's Back Porch Devotional from Psalm 61. Hear my cry, O God, listen to my prayer. From the end of the earth I call to you when my heart is faint. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I, for you have been my refuge, a strong tower against the enemy. Let me dwell in your tent forever. Let me take refuge under the shelter of your wings. For you, O God, have heard my vows. You have given me the heritage of those who fear your name. Prolong the life of the king. May his years endure to all generations. May he be enthroned forever before God. Appoint steadfast love and faithfulness to watch over him. So will I ever sing praises to your name as I perform my vows day after day. David is the author of this psalm, and again he finds himself in trouble. We don't know what the circumstances were that led to the composing of this poem, but David knows his go-to in every situation is to call upon the Lord. And that's something we should all bear in mind. He says that he is at the ends of the earth and his heart is faint. He's reached the end of his rope. And many of us wait to call upon the Lord until we get to the ends of the earth when our hearts are completely exhausted. David knew that the first thing to do was call upon the Lord. In fact, if we sought the Lord's wisdom before we made decisions, we might not end up in so much of the trouble that we find ourselves. You know, it's been said sometimes there's a reason for everything, and sometimes the reason is that you've made stupid choices. That's true. And the beautiful thing is that God does not abandon us, even when we've made foolish choices that have put us into trouble. But the better thing to do would be to call upon the Lord, who is our rock. David says, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. David knows that that rock, who is the Lord himself, is the source of wisdom, is the source of hope, is the source of all help. And David knows that he doesn't know everything, which is just a really good, important first lesson for all of us. David understands that he's going to need more than what he has in his own natural ability in order to handle whatever life has thrown at him. We would do well to remember the words from the prophet Isaiah, where the Lord speaking through Isaiah says this, from Isaiah 55, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. You know, we get frustrated because we quickly realize when we're dealing with God that he doesn't think like we do. He doesn't make the choices we would make, and he doesn't always tell us what's going on or why. And yet what we have to trust is that the Lord of the universe does in fact know what he's doing, and he knows far more than we do, and we would trust him more if we understood everything he understands. If we knew all that God knew, we would be perfectly delighted, perfectly satisfied with everything that comes into our lives, because it is all under the sovereign control of God. And all David knows is this one thing, that he needs to be led to the rock that is higher than he is. He knows that the Lord has been his refuge and a strong tower. He says, let me dwell in your tent forever. And the word for tent there is actually the word used for tabernacle. David lived before the temple was built, and he just wants to dwell where the Lord is. He values that more than his own palace or than any other place he could possibly be. He wants to dwell in the presence of the Lord. Let me take refuge under the shelter of your wings. That is such a tender image for us. It is the image of a mother bird sheltering her young. And David knows that that is where he is safe. And then he says, prolong the life of the king. May his years endure to all generations. May be he enthroned forever before God. And we have to realize that David does not imagine that he's going to live forever. He knows that the kingship has been promised to him and to his offspring. And he can see distantly, although he doesn't fully understand it, that God's Messiah will come through his line. And these verses do indeed refer to that Messiah who will be enthroned forever. There are these powerful words from Revelation chapter 11. Then the seventh angel blew his trumpet, and there were loud voices in heaven saying, "The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever." David spoke better than he knew when he talked about the king being enthroned forever before God, and of the steadfast love and faithfulness that would surround him and would be the hallmark of his reign. But David simply concludes, "I will ever sing praises to your name, and I will perform my vows day after day." David is going to carry out what God has called him to do, and he is going to trust God, who is the rock higher than he is, with everything going on in his life. He will submit to God's wisdom and authority and not puff himself up as though he knows better than God. That is a wonderful thing for us to keep in mind and to live by every single day. To be at peace, knowing that God is in control, so we don't have to try to be. And when you reflect on it, you realize that there's precious little that we can control except perhaps our attitude about life and the way we react to things. And the best attitude to have is to realize that God himself is the rock that is higher than we are. And if we trust in his wisdom and seek his guidance, we will stay out of trouble. And when we get into trouble, even when we get to the ends of the earth and our hearts grow faint, we can cry out to God, who loves us and will never leave us or forsake us. Be faithful to whatever it is that God has called you to do today, and know that he is the rock higher than all of us, and he will shelter us under his wings. God's blessings be upon you this day.